Hi, everyone. Teri Wellbrock here of the Healing Place podcast. Just taking a moment before today's episode, another special edition of the Healers of Hilton Head series. So be sure to stay tuned in, even if you don't live in the Lowcountry area in Hilton Head Island, because this is highlighting healers within my little community. And so just a reminder to everyone to look within your own community. Today is special because the guest is going to talk to us about her own healing journey on a natural healing path. So this is from a healee's perspective, someone who's been along that healing journey. Similar to how I talk about my healing journey with this mycotoxin poisoning, which I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm going to mention it again if I haven't, that I received my labs back in the last 2 weeks, and all of the mycotoxins are back in the normal range. So all of the work I have done over these almost 2 years now, getting these toxins out of my body and helping my body become healthy again has paid off, and it's wonderful. I'm feeling stronger every day, healthier than I ever have. So all the binders and the supplements and the rebounding and the infrared saunas and all of just the numerous things that I've done to implement healing in a holistic manner has paid off. So, all right, now for today's wonderful episode. Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast, another episode of our special series, Healers of Hilton Head. And I know this is going global and people are listening all across the world, but I'm focusing on a very small area, my little community, a little tiny island in South Carolina in the United States of Hilton Head. Beautiful, beautiful community if you've never been here. Just to help people understand that there's so much available outside of traditional pharmaceutical approaches to healing a lot of times, because a lot of times there isn't a pill to fix things like mycotoxin poisoning. So today I have Beth Malone with me, and she is a breast cancer survivor diagnosed in 2016, and she's going to talk to us from a survivor thriver point of view in lieu of the healer. She has navigated through this and found her way to healing. So welcome, Beth.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm glad
Oh,
to share a little bit of my story with you. I know we were time limited, so I can't give you in full detail everything in 30 minutes, but I'll try to hit the point highlights for you.
yes, please do. So talk to us about, well, yeah, go ahead and start about your journey and in your health journey and what brought you to the point of finally stepping on to the natural healing path.
Sure. Well, my natural healing path started probably maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I had started symptoms of thyroid condition, but I didn't. That went unresolved for 10 years because I kept going to Western Med, and they're like, "Your thyroid's fine. Your thyroid's fine," right? And then finally, in my 50s, it was like, I mean, I was starting to not be able to say my son's name when I looked at him. Like, the brain fog was so intense and just things were starting to shut down. And I was like, something's wrong. And I went to an endocrinologist. And, he said, yeah, you have Hashimoto's, which a lot of people have Hashimoto's. So I know that's going to be, familiar for a lot of your viewers. So I went to an endocrinologist for about a year, but I didn't get better. I was put on Synthroid. I was put on, levothyroxine, and I just stayed sick. And I just said to a girlfriend one day, I don't know what to do. And she said, you need to see a naturopath. And that was the start of my journey, really about 10 years ago, of into the natural healing. I never even dawned on me. My entire life was go to Western Med, right? Go to the doctor. You have insurance. That's what it pays for. Doesn't that make sense, right?
Yes.
Isn't it sad? It doesn't pay for natural healing. It boggles my mind today, to even think about that. And that's a whole nother story. But so I found a naturopath in Anthem, Arizona. That's where I was at the time, 26 years there. And she put me on desiccated pig's thyroid, a natural supplement for thyroid. And I really started the journey at that time of just learning about thyroid, what I needed to do, what not to do. You start out and you don't really know those things, right? Little by little. For me, if I could give any advice, just take little nuggets at a time and apply them. You know, not, you don't have to take all the nuggets, don't overwhelm yourself. And that's what I did, just one little thing at a time.
And I have to just interject and say I did the same. I worked with a nutritionist in Bluffton, and it shifted everything. But I had to do microdoses because I'm incredibly sensitive, and so trying supplements, it would sometimes knock me completely off kilter. And so she would say, it's okay to break it open and just put a sprinkle on. And slowly, yes. So I love your recommendation. Thank you. Of just trying little bits at a time, baby steps, little nuggets.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
So I think the thyroid for me is what opened up, because that's your immune system, right? So if your immune system isn't working properly, that opens the door for all kinds of disease, all kinds of things to get into your body, right? That don't belong there. You don't know it necessarily, you know. For me, cancer was like a total shock. Although my mother had breast cancer, but it wasn't hereditary. I did do the BRAX test, but so my cancer journey started in 2016, and we just sold everything we owned. We felt like we're faith-based, and we felt like the Lord said to go. You know, my children were 18 and 20. One was married, and we're like, I don't want to leave my children, you know. But we felt like that's what the Lord wanted. It was time for us to leave the nest, you know, not them leave the nest.
Right. Mom and dad are out.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm done. I did my job. Anyway, we 3 days before we were about to head on that journey, I got a diagnosis of cancer. So, you know, with our faith, we just prayed about it, and we said, no, the Lord wouldn't tell us to sell everything we own and go on the road if I was supposed to stay back and do chemo and radiation. And I'm going to tell you, Western medicine, it is so fear-based. And from a faith point of view, fear is not from God. Even if you don't have the faith of the Lord, I'm sure you've heard that, right? Fear is not from God. It's an enemy. It attacks your body. It's inflammation. It causes all kinds of negative things in your mind and in your spirit. So, you know, we took and still went on our journey, and we said, okay, the Lord said to go, we're going to go, and we're going to trust him. And we said no to the chemo, no to the radiation. We didn't say no forever, because we didn't know anything but Western med. We just said, it took many, many years for cancer to get in my body. I'm going to give a little bit of time to process mentally, you know, and spiritually what's going on. And that's what we did. So, you know, I made an appointment to come back to Phoenix in a few months, which I did, scheduled a lumpectomy, and was going to still process and feel out Western med. You know, I just didn't really have a grasp on natural at that point, completely natural, especially not for cancer, because it's fear-based. So anyway, I went back, I did the lumpectomy, and they found cancer in my lymph nodes. Again, right on, double mastectomy. You've got to do this chemo, radiation. And at that point, I had a few months of studying it, praying about it, learning about it. And we're like, well, wait a minute, there's only a 3% success rate after 5 years, you know, and it's just like, so why are we, you know, what makes this so good, this avenue? Why is this such a good avenue to take? And so we just didn't feel peace about that. And we said no, you know, no to the chemo and the radiation. And she said, okay, take a couple more months, think about it, you know, come back to us or whatever. And in the meantime, we felt like we went to Georgia, and then we felt like the Lord said, go to Hilton Head Island. And we're like, oh, We had come here by mistake. My girlfriend had said, you need a vacation. My girlfriend from Connecticut, she goes, I have a home in Hilton Head. Go stay there for a week. This is right at the cancer diagnosis. And I said, oh, okay, where's Hilton Head?
Right.
Well, now I live here because it's amazing, right? But that's how I found out about Hilton Head. And then when I came here, I just started to study some things. I just slowly started to take the time and just breathe, get over the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna leave my kids. Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna see my grandkids. That fear just is overwhelming. It takes over sometimes. And I can imagine for other people as well, if it did for me. And I really just had to rest, and realize that, healing comes from many different places. So even by walking on the ocean and the sand, I learned, that is connecting with God. For me, it's connecting with God, the ocean, the waves, the fresh air, walking on grass, and I know naturopaths have all the proper verbiages for that and what they call it, but for me, I just learned little by little things to do, I watched Ty Bollinger, The Truth About Cancer. Have you heard about him? Okay, that's a series. Now that's a little more, if you're just starting out, I recommend going to Chris Wark, W-A-R-K, Chris Wark. He's a cancer survivor naturally, and he has a book out. So he was stage 3. And he's all about the food, all about, we'll tell you about your natural vitamins and herbs. And so he's the best place to go to if you're just starting out. Go to Chris Wark. And then if you, like me, like now, or you, we could easily go to Ty Bollinger, The Truth About Cancer. There's a whole video series, 10 video series. And it talks about all kinds of disease, cancer, Lyme's disease. And it's really, really helpful. So I recommend that series as well. So I started watching these things, and, I'm on Facebook. So on their, what do you call it, their sites. So I can go in and say, I'm feeling this, or, what, and all kinds of people just like you or I will come in and say, hey, I had that and I did this.
Yes.
And it's just amazing, the community.
Oh, I do that. There's like 70 something thousand in a mold toxicity page.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing how many people are saying the same things, like, oh, I've worked with a nutritionist. Oh, I've seen a naturopath. Oh, I've, working with this, and try this supplement, try that supplement. And as I read things, I'm like, oh, I'm doing that. Oh, I've taken that. Oh, that's worked great. Yes.
Right. That's how I learned. Well, Chris Wark is how I learned about like juicing, because even in Ty Bollinger, The Truth About Cancer is a huge on juicing for cancer. So my husband was like, if you have to do it, I have to do it. We lost 100 pounds. We went strictly vegan for a year, which was so hard to do. But, once you get into it and you start realizing I have to do this for a season, not everything is permanent.
Right.
I don't say never to anybody, it's like, I don't eat sugar. I just won't. It feeds cancer. You can't get a cancer diagnosis and then put sugar in your body because it feeds it. So it's like, it's like taking a steak up to a lion. So there's certain things that just don't make sense to me. Now, am I 100% perfect all the time? No, but for the most part, I don't eat carbs. I don't eat, because they all turn to sugar.
Right.
So little by little, I've learned, and I've learned how to eat keto, and I've learned how to do Dr. Berg. Have you heard of Dr. Berg? He's amazing. So he will teach you how to do keto, and intermittent fasting is amazing for your body.
Yes, I do that. I just found out yesterday, I'm still doing a happy dance. We live in Hilton Head Plantation, and there's a farm in the plantation, and I was been on a waiting list, and yesterday we got to finally go. There were 3 plots open, and we get to go pick our plot. And so the whole family went up, and we all agreed. We all loved the same one. So I said, "This has to be it." It was like near this beautiful tree and kind of off the beaten path. We are so excited about growing our own food, and being able to go up and pull off a cucumber and some radishes and make ourselves these healthy. Because I did start eating. I lost 58 pounds, started eating. I had to do it from a low histamine standpoint, but it just became very organic, whole food way of eating. No gluten. And again, cutting out sugar, cutting out any processed foods, alcohol, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But don't let that, I don't want that to scare people either. I have a glass of wine once in a while. I have, you don't have to, it's just nothing within excess, right?
Yes. Right.
That's what the Bible says. You can have, it doesn't say to have nothing. It just says nothing within excess. So don't overdo
I found
anything.
Simple Mills cookies made out of almond flour, and I was like, oh, I'm missing cookies so bad. So I said, I'm gonna treat myself every now and then to my Simple Mills almond flour cookies. So yeah.
So there's lots of tricks, like, even learning about, I have a Norwalk mixer juicer that I bought, and I learned, and I bought it, this gentleman passed away and his sister put it up for sale, and they're thousands. So I got it off Marketplace for like $700. But little things like using an auger instead of a blender, because the auger actually pushes it. The blender, the high-speed blenders ruin or minimize the whatever you get, the nutrients. So I didn't know things like that. So, little by little, out goes the blender, in comes the, juicer, the auger, out goes regular food, in comes organics. But with that, I still, like everybody else, I'm not a wealthy person. So I do the Dirty Dozen, the top 12, just Google Dirty Dozen. And it gives you the top 12 or 15 vegetables that have to be organic. Start somewheres, Most of my food is organic. I mean, I never go on the interior walls of the store, ever. I'm always on the exterior, your fruits and meats, right? So those are just little things that you learn. You don't even realize that you have so much toxicity in your home until you start researching one thing at a time. So I did makeup once and then just said, okay, it's time for makeup. Let's throw out the toxic. But I started with foundation and found natural. Then I found, and then I did hair shampoo, and then I did laundry detergent. So just basically little by little. There we go, little steps again. I'm back to sharing about little steps to progress, right?
Yes.
And eventually, 5 years later, now I do see a natural doctor. I only look for natural doctors. I had, at one point, we were praying because I had insurance, and I found a radiologist on the island, and even though I had insurance, he offered to do it for free, to give me my chemo and radiation for free. I thought that was such a gift. I'm like, surely that's from God, right? That's a gift. I'm going to get this all included for free. And then prayed about it. And I thought, that's not, chemo is not a gift. Radiation is not a gift. And so we didn't even go ahead with that when it was offered to us for free. So I will tell you, from that doctor, I got a letter in the mail saying that because I refused chemo and radiation, not only will I be dead in 5 years, which is more than 5 years ago now, that's what they said in the letter. We will not be responsible, and you'll be gone within 5 years. And I'm like, my husband was like, do not receive that do not let somebody speak that over you. So we literally threw that letter away, and then kept doing our natural. And then I found doctor recently, and I did a lot of this on my own. No, I never did MRIs, never did scans. I have done thermography.
Yes.
Thermograms. I've done that, and I will do an ultrasound if somebody, asks. Right now, Dr. Deckel in Bluffton is asked to have a ultrasound. I'm fine with that. There's no harm in those, but I will not do X-rays, and I will not do. Never again in my life will I do a mammogram because
Yes.
that can cause cancer, and I learned that. Sadly, I didn't know that.
I just recently found that out, and I was researching the thermography option
Yeah.
to see what was available. Yeah.
And even when I did my thermography, this was when I was living in Charlotte. Um, she said, Beth, she goes, honestly, she goes, your thermogram of your breasts are less heated because it shows heat. So when there's inflammation, sickness, it shows up red and hot. She goes, I have women in here that don't have cancer that show more inflammation in their bodies than you. So I was like, okay, that's a step in the right direction. But the whole time, really the battle for me was in my mind, right? Is in fear and in dying. And what if I'm making the wrong decision? What if it's life threatening? What if I could have lived if I had done the chemo and radiation? But, all those scary things go through your mind. And I just have to always go back to the Bible, go back to the word. And where I finally got my peace was I felt like the Lord said to me, Beth, your name is written in the book of life. You are not going to go home 1 second before I call you. Not one moment, not 1 second, not one day. When that day is, he knows. God knows when each of us go home to be with him. We're his children, right?
Right.
And then that overwhelming peace came over me. And I said, okay, you're right. Well, I have to stop this worry. That's not from the Lord.
Right. And do it your way. I thought with Olivia Newton-John's passing, I know she had battled and overcome breast cancer, and then she had a recurrence, but it was over a 30-year span. But I know she also did, like, the food was a very important part. Food is medicine for her. I haven't read a whole lot about it, but obviously with it all coming to light. But I love that she was shining that light as well, with food as medicine.
Yeah, it is medicine. And I mean, everything we put in our bodies and on our bodies. I mean, even if you think about it with our lotion, I mean,
Yeah.
our skin is what the most absorbent thing on our bodies. It like absorbs everything we put on it. And yet we just grab whatever fragrant, not even knowing. And the US is horrible for hiding their chemicals under fragrance. So I will not buy any product that says fragrance. If the word fragrance is in the chemicals, that's chemical listing, that's where the US hides their toxic gene.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I know my nutritionist had brought up, like, is it parabens in shampoos?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I've eliminated those. Like, I look for that on labels. And again, just these baby steps, little micro changes
Yeah.
as I journey along. So yes.
And you'll find shampoos and you'll find, and then sometimes I've bought things and went, oh, yes, this is natural. This is healthy. And then, you learn something more and you read the list and you're like, oh, crud, I missed
Yes.
that.
It's so true.
And it doesn't mean you have to throw it out, if you're being, have to be careful with your pennies, just use it. And then the next one you buy, when you get near the end, you say, okay, I won't even use them anymore, but
Right.
I just found what I like and I know they're natural and I stick with it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, and
So
I just love learning. Again, I love learning about all of the options that are available, which is,
yeah,
again, the whole premise of this series is there's so much out there that's good for us,
yeah,
that's healthy. I mean, options like brushing my teeth. So with this mycotoxin poisoning, I all of a sudden started having a reaction where, using a toothpaste, my throat was tingling, and my tongue was swelling, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go into anaphylactic shock. So I just started researching options, and so now I use baking soda.
yeah.
Right? I always get soda and powder mixed up. like
And you can add your coconut oil to that, baking soda, and put a little mint or whatever natural flavor that you like
Yeah.
from essential oils. You can
Yeah, I
make
was
any.
gonna say essential oils. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
I diffuse all the time my natural, oils, and I do take natural supplements. I saw um, Dr. Morris, who is in with Dr. Deckel. He does
Yes.
chiropractor,
I've seen him. Yes.
thyroid. He'll help in those arenas as well. Um, for a female doctor, it's Dr. Deckel, that you would see, and I'm very happy with that. With Rejuvenate Health, they've done a good job in there. I think there's others available. I don't, I think you need to research
Right.
and make sure they believe what you believe, and line up. It's a connection. It's about a connection. You want somebody
Absolutely.
that's going to walk along beside you, not fight you on this journey.
Correct. Oh, me just bringing my labs in and sitting across from Dr. Deckel and just him taking the time to just listen and engage and then say things that I had already learned from my own research or my nutritionist and saying, oh, somebody gets it. Somebody gets it and understands and is on the same page was just amazing because I had gone to a Western med. Obviously, we had just moved here to the island and I just needed to find a family doctor. So I went to Western because, like you, I was just like, you just go to the doctor. That's what you
Right.
do. And when all of this started to arise, and I had, not kidding, 20 symptoms. My blood pressure was out of whack. My vitamin D was out of whack. My kidneys were going crazy. My liver was having problems, like all at one time. And so obviously, I was teary eyed
Yeah.
because that's a lot for somebody to be so sick so quickly.
Yeah.
And not kidding, when the doctor who had just met me said to me, well, I think the first thing we're going to do is get you on some anti-anxiety meds. And I said, hold up. this this isn't something we're just going to throw a pill at to make me calm down because I have tears in my eyes.
Right.
This is, let's find the root cause of what's going on. Let's find out why is my body all of a sudden going just cuckoo.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I found a doctor out here, Bluffton area, that is a faith-based doctor, like, believes in the Lord. And I had a girlfriend that said he'll even pray with you in the office, and which I'd love that. And I went to see him, but he was Western Med, and he says, Beth, what do you want me to do? I'm only trained one way. And I thought to myself, it's not even their fault. They go to school, they follow, I don't even, it just breaks my heart that that's all they learn, but they are only have a certain amount that they can be taught in the medical field in their 8 years. And it's crammed in them, right? So it's the basics. It's, here's this pill for this, here's this for this, here's the basic symptoms, this is this, they're not taught in depth, in their medical school. And so I learned that they only learn a certain way. I can't even blame them. That's all they know.
Right.
And I was like, oh, and it just, like, it was eye-opening to me. It's like, I'm going to him, trying to get him to meet me where I am. He can't. He's legally bound by his license to only operate a certain way. So if you're going to Western Med and you want them to do a certain thing, it's really a waste of time. Most of them won't. You have to look up a DO and find one that will, work naturally, work both ways. Now, I will tell you, both the doctors I've had, the one in Arizona, she was a regular doctor, but went natural. So she took the natural path, but she did have her doctorate's degree. And then the same with Dr. Deckel. He is a doctor.
Yes.
He could do Western Med. He can prescribe you whatever he wants, but he won't.
Right.
He only does natural.
Yeah.
I remember with him, when I met him the first time, I didn't go to him. I went to Dr. Morris, and they're good friends. So he came in the office when I was in there to talk to Dr. Morris. And then Dr. Morris introduced Dr. Deckel to me, told him I had the breast cancer, the breast cancer. And he tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, did you do any chemo and radiation? And I said, no. And he goes, good girl. You know, that's it. And then I started going to him, as well, as far as having a female doctor. It's really important.
That's so funny because my story is similar. As I had seen Dr. Morris, and then
Oh,
Dr.
really?
Deckel, the door was open, and Dr. Deckel had stopped by, and we just had a brief conversation. And then when I went through a whole journey for about a year with my nutritionist, and then I felt like I really needed, I was at these final hurdles, and for whatever reason, just Dr. Deckel, just his energy, there's something about him. And so I reached out and made an
And he's
appointment
so
with him.
sweet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's just
And
such a sweet
brilliant.
man. Yeah, and
Brilliant.
brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
I do not like going to men doctors as far as female issues are concerned.
Yeah.
And it's like with Dr. Deckel, at first I wouldn't even make an appointment with him. I wanted just the nurse practitioner. And then so I went and I met with the nurse practitioner, and then she said, I really need the doctor to come in. And that's how she got Dr. Deckel into the room with me. And he was so kind and sweet and just a gentle man, definitely a professional.
Yes.
You felt very comfortable with him. So,
For sure.
yeah, I'm happy to have met him.
Awesome. Well, I love it.
So, recently I got my labs done, and, I was told there's nothing. They were like, Beth, there's nothing in your labs to say that you have cancer. I'm not seeing any elevated cells where there should be or not, or, and I was like, okay. And I don't feel the urge to do, what do you call it? Like MRIs and all those things. A lot of people want to see or want to know, and I just don't have that. I know that I'm healed. I'm healing every day until the day I'm not here, which hopefully is another 40 years. I just turned 60, and
Congrats. Happy
thanks.
birthday.
Thanks. And I feel healthy and happy and just taking my journey one day at a time. And I still need to do things like walk a little bit more, or, work. I'm not perfect. Everybody has areas that they are weak in. That's okay.
Right.
Focus on your strengths, and, and everything will come into place.
Yes. Amen. Oh, I say the same thing. Like, I have it on my to-do list every day. Work out. And there's some days I get to it and some days that I don't. But I try to find those things that I enjoy, taking a bike ride or taking the dog for a walk up at Hilton or up at Dolphin Head in our neighborhood.
Honestly,
Across the Sound.
that is exercise. That's way more important to do what you just said that you do, because I'm learning more and more, like with thyroid, to not tax your adrenals. Cancer's the same thing. So if you're doing a high impact cardio, that is taxing your adrenals. So for me, the best exercise that I have learned that is cancer fighting is a mini trampoline.
That's what I do. Yes.
Yeah. So rebound, if you
Rebound. Yes.
15, 20, I start out doing 2 or 3 minutes because that's all you can do to start with. And then you just build from there. And that's the best exercise anyone could ever do. Put a little rebounder in their house. It's crazy what you learn. Like, you think you have to be this gym goer. I do want to build some muscle at my age. I'm like, okay, I get that now. You take that for granted when you're younger.
Yes.
And then you get older and you're like, okay, yeah.
Lift that arm and it's like, hey, what the?
I'm going to do that for you. I'm a perfect example of the waving lower arm.
Yes, exactly.
I joke with my husband all the time when I wave to somebody and I can see it in the mirror in the car.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, my grandma Kitty, who was just a saving grace in my life and a tumultuous childhood, I look at it now and I think, oh my God, she was the most patient saint of a woman, because I would play with, like, I would love to like I'd be like, hold your arm up, Grandma, because I loved like just her flabby arms. Yeah.
And now we're the grandmas.
Exactly.
You know what? I mean, that's where we all get to, right?
Right.
So I don't panic about any of that stuff, just
No.
do the best that we can do, right? With what we
Yeah.
have. And
If we're happy and healthy and enjoying
juicing,
life and laughing, yes.
juicing is incredible. I did investigate going to Mexico to some of those healing places, and they were like 40 to 60,000 for a few weeks to go. And that wasn't, in my budget to do. So I decided to learn some of their techniques. And so I did the brushing. Have you ever done brushing?
I've done brushing, yes.
I've done the brushing. I've done the hot and cold, where you turn the faucet in the shower ice cold, and then you turn it hot, warm, and then you warm up, and then you turn it cold. So that's really good for your body and your cells as well. So I kind of learned things on my own that I could do and just implemented them, and
Yeah.
just started doing what I could do.
Yeah.
You know?
We have a vibration plate, and that I'll stand on that occasionally. I do the rebounder, I do the brushing, I do anything to get the lymph
Yeah.
system pumping. I mean,
Vitamin
our heart
C.
pumps our blood, but we have more lymph in our body than
Yeah.
blood. And so it needs some way. So movement, that's why walking, exercising, all of that, it's
Yeah.
moving that.
Now, I will tell you, I have been for 5 years faithful with, I take a really good high quality vitamin C, liquid vitamin C with liposoma in it. I think that's what it's called. If anybody needs to know, they can contact me. But I've never stopped taking a high dose of vitamin C. I take a high dose of vitamin D with K every day. I take, there's certain things that I will not stop doing because
Yes.
vitamin C is so good for cancer. And you learn what those things are. And then you say, okay, these are non negotiables,
Right.
and then you go to your naturopath, and then there's other things that come back in your blood work, and they say, okay, go on this for a season. And I'll do that. But I really don't stay on. I'm not on any pills at all. No medication, nothing.
Me either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I refuse not to. I mean, if I can for the rest of my life, we'll do everything naturally if I
Yes.
possibly can.
I am right there with you. Yes.
But I have no judgment. If somebody has to, I understand that. I know there's some cancers that chemo and radiation is actually works with. And I don't judge anybody for that. You take whatever journey you need to take, but do your research. Pray about it. Don't make that decision out of fear. You did
Right.
not get cancer overnight. It took a long time for it to form in your body. So, and I know some cancers are lions and some are bunnies, and sometimes there's a lion that you just can't control. And, unfortunately, that is, it's a natural sickness and disease in our bodies. And that's what happens. We just got to fight and do whatever we can to tame it, pray for the best and put every day forward, don't live in
Yes.
fear.
Yeah. And really it is about not feeding it, like you said, not giving it the sugars, not giving it the
Yeah.
fuel that it needs to grow and get stronger. Yeah.
Not only that, don't feed your mind because inflammation, stress, I mean, those are all cancer causing, right? So
Right.
the inflammation is food, but stress is your mind, you know? So I go to the word, I rely on what God says, and like he said, my name is written in the book of life, he's my healer, I just go research, find scriptures that supports, I transform my mind, renew your mind daily, and, throw out the bad thoughts. So when I get bad thoughts, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not from God, get out of my head. And then I replace the thought with a positive, you know?
I love
So
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's
so how do people connect with you if they have questions or want to know more about your journey?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'd love to, chat with them and help them and pray with them. And so my email is number 4, numeral 4, Beth, BETH only, ONLY at gmail.com. For Beth only at gmail.com.
I love
So
it.
go ahead and, email me, and I'll get back with you. I don't get to my email every single day, so don't panic, but I will see it. I do go in and check them. And yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, we live on
Well,
an island, so I try not to be on my tablet too much. I try to go.
yes.
We
Well,
are
yeah,
very,
I still pinch myself that we live here. Like I'll
oh,
randomly walk outside and say, I can't believe I have a palm tree in my yard. Like that's just so
I
amazing.
know. And I live at Point Comfort, and I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
comfort. I live in comfort.
Right. Right.
So I love it, but it is beautiful. And I think God provided this island for us, both of us, and anyone who comes here. I wasn't here very long, and somebody said, they prophesied that this is a healing island, and I believe it. You
I do
know,
too.
it's just beautiful, and it's friendly, and it is healing. I know it's stressful in the summer when 200,000 people squeeze
Yes.
into our space, but I want them to enjoy it too. So,
Well,
you
that's
know,
how I found it. I vacationed here for 20 years, but I'm not kidding when I tell you this, Beth. We were pulling onto the island for the first time ever. My boys were 2 and 4, little tiny guys, and we're coming over the bridge. And I turned to my then husband and I said, I don't know how to explain this, but this feels like home. It was as if the island just embraced me. I just felt, I
yeah,
don't know if I just knew on some level that I was day going to live here, but it just felt so welcoming, so peaceful. And I fell in love with it from the moment I was here. And
that's how we felt. I mean, my husband is this, he does anything IT and technical, and then I do interior design, but we're very laid back here. It's like we don't do full time. We pick our schedules and work when we want because we just enjoy the
yeah,
island, and start to enjoy. I guess you get to a certain age where that's important too.
oh,
You know,
for sure. Yes.
you don't want to stop by no means. We're not ready to stop, and I don't think you ever should stop. Just keep going
No.
till you drop, right?
Right. But
But it is
savor the beauty. Yes.
a beauty, and I feel the same way you did. We now have been here over 2 years full time, and we're not going anywhere.
Right.
Unless the Lord says go on a journey again. But right now we're planted here, and it's just home. Like you said, we hit the Lowcountry, and we're just deep. And I'm sure that happens for people in Arizona that see the mountains and the
Yeah.
majesty and the majestic of the desert. I think that when I go home, but this is our home, and it's beautiful.
Yes, for sure.
And hopefully I might sneak in and raid your garden now that I know
All
you got.
right. Right. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I'm telling you, I'm sure I'll have abundance. I'll have to reach out to you and be like, all right, Beth, I have 27 cucumbers. So
Please, please. And I've got some great recipes for you. So I've learned to eat natural, and I have healthy natural desserts that don't require sugar, and they're amazing. And
oh, yeah, sign me up. I love it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
so
always
great.
good to share with people and
Yeah.
friends, different ideas, because, cooking is just as boring now as it was when your kids are little and you're like, what's up for supper today, right? It's so boring. And it's like, oh, I'm so sick of cooking the same old things. Well, share your recipes, your healthy recipes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've started. That's why I enjoy cooking. I used to hate cooking, but now that I'm eating this way, I'm starting to explore with stuff. I was making a 13 bean, because beans are so incredibly healthy for you, um, soup. And they were talking about throwing in certain herbs that just are not on my histamine. They're just not on my list right now for where I am on this part of the journey. And so I said, ooh, I do love rosemary and thyme though. So I threw in some sprigs of both and very fresh, organic. And oh my gosh, it was so good and tasty. But I'm starting to just be more adventurous, I guess, in my cooking as I learn about the
Yeah.
benefits of
Well,
it all.
Let me give you a hint there. Do you know about Bobby Parrish?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so it's Parish. I have his cookbooks, a couple of them. Anyway, if you want to know what's in food, you go look up Bobby Parrish and you watch a YouTube video. Say you're looking for dairy and you want to know in dairy. He just Google dairy, Bobby Parrish, and it'll come up with a video and he'll take you right to your grocery store and he walks through the dairy and says why not to get this, why to get this. And he even has an app. So I have his app. It's Bobby Parrish, and I go in the store and I just scan it, and it's a thumbs up for approved or thumbs down for don't get it. There's chemicals in it.
Oh.
So check out Bobby Parrish. And his recipes are delish. And he's got a little, well, she's 3-year-old now, but she started at a baby, but his baby Rosie cooks with him.
Oh.
And his wife
That's
does
so cute.
It's amazing. So if you want to eat healthy and you want to learn more about food and not get overwhelmed with that, Bobby Parrish is your guy.
All right. Awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Beth, it's just been such a joy to have you here. And thanks for walking us through your journey. And yes, kudos to you for following where God has led you along this healing journey.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And it has been a journey, and it's still an ongoing journey, right?
Yeah.
Just keep going but do the best we can.
Yeah, we'll have to get our rebounders together and do some bouncing and on a beach somewhere or something.
Oh, now that I could handle. Let's rebound right into the ocean.
Right.
We're actually doing, you want to do happy hour tonight at 6:30 on Islanders Beach. A bunch of us. Oh,
yeah, we love Islanders.
Yeah, we're doing sunset tonight at Islanders.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. We might have to wander out that way. I have a 6:00 podcast interview, but if we're, but sunset's not to what, 8:30, 8:20. Yeah.
We'll be there for hours.
Okay. I'll wander. We'll if we have time, we'll wander that way, and I'll be like, Beth.
Yeah, my husband will be there, and then my girlfriend. I don't know who else she's invited, but
yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it. Awesome.
Hi, Teri. Nice meeting you. Bless you.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for being here and shining your light. And yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock again. Just wanted to thank you for listening to the episode today and remind you to visit my website as well as the academy.teriwellbrock.com for the courses. But if you go to my website, teriwellbrock.com, you can sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, which is also jam-packed with information and strategies and blog pieces and guest blog pieces and links to shows. And just a great space for, again, healing. Thanks for, again, being here and being a part of this healing space. I very much appreciate you. All right. Bye-bye.